Hey, and welcome to Synaptic Soul, the podcast where science meets spirit, and we get real about the beautiful and brutal and magical mess of being human. I'm your host, Ava Marie Anderson, writer, mystic, multidimensional mischief maker. Quick disclaimer, you may hear the occasional snort, sigh, dramatic flop from my two French bulldogs, Rocky and Rambo. They're the soundtracks of my life, my soul companions, and honestly, the real stars of the show. Someday we'll dedicate a full episode to their role in my daily rituals, emotional healing, and wild spiritual life. But for now, just know that they're always close by, snoring their support. Let's dive in. Alright, let's cut the glittery bullshit for a sec and get real. Because what actually is spirituality? In today's landscape, it has become basically everything and nothing all at once. It's lighting a candle and calling it shadow work, or it's 11:11 on the microwave, so I need to assume that the universe is telling me to quit my job and move to Costa Rica. And listen, I love a good synchronicity and cacao ceremony as much as the next awakened weirdo, but the truth is, spirituality is not just a vibe. It is a full body, brain altering, frequency recalibrating, nervous system reshaping, consciousness expanding process. It's not some airy fairy optional add on to normal life, because it is normal life. Well, if we weren't so disassociated from what being alive actually means. But it's biology, and it's quantum physics, and it's ancient cosmology, and it's the freaking mitochondria in your cells dancing every single time you remember who you are. So let's redefine it. Not as something separate from science, but as a science of being. So here's where it gets fun. Every spiritual insight you have ever had, every gut feeling, every tearful breakthrough, every moment of surrender or goosebump download wasn't just woo. It was a biological event. So when you feel connected to something greater than yourself, whether that's God or Source or Allah or Spirit or the multiverse or even the ghost of your grandma whispering through your houseplants, your body does something. Like you start producing oxytocin, which is the bonding hormone, and your cortisol levels drop. And your parasympathetic nervous system turns on, which is that rest and repair part of your body. Your heart rate slows, and your immune system strengthens, and your brain waves shift. And your sense of separateness, that gnawing ego illusion that says, I am alone, I am unworthy, I am just a meat suit with a 401k, well, it starts to melt. Because spirituality is your body's natural state of coherence. We were designed for it. We just forgot. All right, well, let's talk the placebo effect for a second, because this one always blows people's minds. So in clinical trials, placebo pills, the sugar ones, the ones that are medically inert, they often outperform actual drugs. Why is that? Well, because when you believe something will help you, your brain literally starts producing the chemicals as if it already has. And that's wild. Because it means that belief alone can trigger dopamine and endorphins and even immune responses. Because you're not just being hopeful, you're literally hacking your biochemistry with intention. Now stretch that out and think about what your daily beliefs are doing. Because if you believe the world is hostile, your brain creates cortisol and adrenaline and hypervigilance. But if you believe the universe is supported and you are well guided, well, boom, oxytocin, dopamine, neural openness. Your entire lived reality is shaped by the stories your nervous system believes are true. And it's not just spiritual fluff. It's psychoneuroimmunology, which is the study of how thoughts affect nervous and immune systems. So translation, your thoughts are casting spells in the laboratory of your body all day long. And this isn't new. This is ancient AF. The Vedas, written thousands of years ago, describe the body as a vessel of consciousness. Indigenous traditions teach that the earth and the body mirror each other. And mystics across cultures knew that prayer and song and trance and fasting and breath altered your consciousness. And now neuroscience backs it. So we're finally translating it into Western science language. But make no mistake, your ancestors knew all of this way before the lab coats did. But now we're finally bridging the gap. Like, we're finally in an age where spirituality isn't about leaving the body or denying the world. It's about remembering that the body is the altar and the world is the spell book. So, yeah, science is catching up. But spirituality was never behind. It just speaks in symbols and stories and soul. So, have you ever had one of those days where you just keep seeing like the same number or the same animal or hearing the same phrase? It's not just a cute coincidence. It's pattern recognition, and your brain is very good at it. It is so good, in fact, that we are hardwired to find meaning. But here's the kicker. The brain doesn't just observe patterns. It then responds to them emotionally and hormonally and energetically. So, when you notice synchronicity, your reticular activating system, the part of your brainstem responsible for attention and awareness, lights up like a mofo. You feel attuned and present and turned on. And then that sense of connection generates neurochemicals that then reinforce the experience. Meaning, the more you believe you're guided, the more your body acts like it's true. And this is what your spiritual practice does. It trains your brain to perceive the sacred. And not because you're escaping reality, but because you're finally noticing that the parts of reality that have been shimmering there the whole time. Like, hello, wake up. So here's where I'm going to lovingly roast the positive vibes only crowd. Because while spiritual practice can elevate the mood and raise vibration and create joy, those aren't the only signs that it's working. Because sometimes true spiritual embodiment feels like grief and rage and contraction. And sometimes it feels like chaos. And why? Because healing means that data is surfacing, like repressed emotion or ancestral trauma or energetic debris. Your body is processing information that it was basically forced to suppress for survival. And that's not always cute. Like, spirituality doesn't mean always feeling good, but it does mean feeling true. And that means facing your shadow and your grief and your unprocessed loops. Because you're not just feeling things randomly, you're discharging bioelectrical patterns. And this is where we start to see how spirituality and trauma work are basically in the same river. Because every spiritual breakthrough has a neurobiological root, and every trauma release is a quantum leap just basically waiting to happen. But at its core, spirituality is a relationship with aliveness. And your nervous system is the translator. It's that bridge between your body and your environment. And it's how you sense safety and connection and threat and love and purpose and awe. So when you learn to listen to your nervous system, to track sensation, or maybe start to recognize when you're in fight or flight versus rest and digest, you're learning the language of spirit. Because if your nervous system doesn't feel safe, you can't access your highest self. You'll just be stuck in survival loops and not no spiritual insight to be found. Like, no amount of meditation will unlock your gifts if your body thinks that you're in danger. And that's why trauma healing and embodiment and somatic work are not just nice add-ons to a spiritual path, but they are the path. And so when your nervous system starts to feel safe again, your intuition sharpens and your frequency rises, and you become an energetic tuning fork for the truth. So, just to put it bluntly, I guess, you're not here to bypass your humanity. You're here to master it. Like real spirituality doesn't take you out of your body. It drops you deeper into it, into the wisdom of your cells and your gut and your heartbeat, into the dreams of your ancestors and the frequency of your own voice. Because you're not separate from the universe. You are the universe. You're experiencing itself as a person with bills and big feelings and a weird allergy to fake people. And when you live that truth, like when you embody the sacredness of being human, your whole system lights up like a GD supernova. So, what is spirituality? It's the biology of presence, it's the chemistry of connection, it's the neuroplasticity of truth, it's the physics of intention, and it's the poetry of existence. And it's the magic, most importantly, of remembering what you already are. It's not a lifestyle, it's a frequency. And now that we've laid the groundwork, we're going to build the tower. Because listen, if you're going to ascend, baby, you deserve to know how it all works. This episode is brought to you in part by one of my most favorite humans on this spinning planet, Morgan Garza, and her book Soul Magic. If you've ever felt like your power was just waiting beneath the surface, or like there's something ancient and electric inside of you ready to be reclaimed, then this is the book that helps you remember. Soul Magic is not just a read, it is a summoning. It's filled with rituals and stories and the kind of grounded spiritual wisdom that doesn't talk at you, it talks with you. Morgan writes like a soul sister, a cosmic cheerleader, and a priestess all rolled into one. And it's a must-have for anyone on the path of awakening, reclaiming. So grab your copy at morgangarza.com or wherever books are sold, or bless someone else's journey and gift it. Because real magic's meant to be shared. That's Soul Magic by Morgan Garza. You'll feel it in your bones. All right, so you've had a spiritual experience. You meditated for 10 minutes and you saw the outline of your dead great-grandmother whispering in the steam. Or maybe you cried during breath work, or you felt your body disappear in a sound bath, or maybe even you just looked at a tree and suddenly understood the meaning of life. That's not your imagination. That's your neurobiology getting lit. But we're about to talk about what actually happens in the brain when you awaken spiritually. And we're talking hard science and brain waves and ego death and psychedelics even. And also, by the way, why your intuition isn't just a lucky guess. It is literally your nervous system working overtime. So, first, let's get into those brain waves. Your brain is constantly firing off electrical impulses, and these impulses vibrate at different frequencies depending on what you're doing. So the slower the wave, the deeper the state of consciousness. It's like tuning into different spiritual radio stations. So you got beta. This is your everyday alertness, your decision making, your caffeine-fueled problem solving. This is your getting shit done wave. And it is basically your default when you're in a meeting trying not to scream. And then you've got alpha. This is your calm and meditative and creative. It's your flow state while painting or maybe even just walking in nature. Your doorway to the inner world starts to open here. And then you've got theta. This is deep meditation and trance and visualization and subconscious access. This is dreamscape territory. It's the realm where trauma is processed and spiritual downloads come in. And then you've got delta. This is sleep and deep healing and unconscious regeneration. Your body's repairing itself and your soul is galactic. And then you've got gamma. This is your heightened perception, your deep insight, your spiritual ecstasy. So gamma waves are found in Tibetan monks and people basically tripping balls on DMT. And they're linked to compassion and unity and those we're all one moments. So spiritual practices like meditation and breath work or chanting even shift your dominant brain waves from beta into alpha and theta and even gamma. So you're not just spacing out, you're shifting your entire cognitive operating system. So when people say things like, I had a vision or I felt like I left my body, they're not hallucinating. They're just basically tuning into a different frequency, just like a radio dial. So let's zoom in on meditation for a sec, because truly, if spirituality were a tech product, meditation is the power cord and the software. So, studies have shown that long term meditation practitioners have physically thicker prefrontal cortices, which is the part of your brain responsible for decision making and focus and higher order thinking. So, basically, meditating literally builds brain muscle. Like your third eye is doing reps out there. But wait, there's actually more, because meditation reduces activity in the amygdala, which is your fear and threat detector. So, this means over time, spiritual practices help you respond to life with more clarity and less, oh my God, the world is ending panic. So, you become less reactive and more present. You unhook from fear loops and you start responding from truth instead of trauma. And then there's the big one. The default mode network, which I'm going to call DMN, is a collection of brain regions that light up when you're daydreaming or self reflecting or scrolling your ex's Instagram at 2 a.m. It's that me center. And it's where your brain spins up stories about who you are and what you've done and whether or not you're good enough. So during meditation, the DMM deactivates. And that basically means that your ego takes a back seat for a bit. And this deactivation is basically the neural basis for the ego death, or whatever you want to call that blissful feeling of basically being no one and everyone all at once. That same DMN shutdown happens during psychedelic trips, which basically means that deep spiritual states and plant medicine journeys may be different doors, but they lead to the same quantum hallway. And this is why even a few minutes of true stillness can feel like touching God. Because your brain literally opens up space for direct experience without your personality getting into the way. I'm going to repeat that. Opens up space for direct experience without your personality getting in the way. My goodness. I mean, that's such a powerful bit for me, because how much of life is overthinking everything, listening to that little voice in our heads. So now we enter the mystical territory that science hasn't quite caught up with yet, but it's starting to flirt with a little bit at parties. So the pineal gland is that tiny little pine cone shaped structure tucked deep into the center of your brain. And in scientific terms, it regulates melatonin and helps you control your circadian rhythm. But in spiritual traditions, it's been called the third eye for thousands of years. Some researchers suggest that the pineal gland may produce DMT, which is that powerful psychedelic compound known as the spirit molecule. So your body might be tripping naturally during sleep and birth and death, or moments of intense spiritual awakening. And now science hasn't conclusively proven this, but the fact that the pineal gland is photoreceptive, so it literally responds to light and contains similar structures to the eyes, well, that's some juicy cosmic foreshadowing there. But what we do know is that deep meditation activates the pineal gland, so it increases coherence in the brain and actually induces states of euphoria and insight and a visionary experience. It's like your inner oracles waking up and blinking for the first time in years. So, when you feel like you're having a mystical experience, it is not just in your head, it is all the way into your pineal juice. But let's just bust another myth while we're here. Intuition isn't magic. It is an advanced intelligence. It is your body processing over 11 million bits of data per second. Your conscious mind, it handles maybe 40. So where does the rest of it go? Well, it goes into your subconscious, into your felt sense, into that gut reaction that you get when somebody feels off, or that inner pull that whispers, yes, do this. That's your intuition. It's your nervous system reading the room before your brain can decode it. So researchers call it implicit learning or somatic intelligence, but spiritual people just call it divine knowing. Either way, it's real. And the more spiritually attuned you are, the more you have access to this nonlinear data. So the next time you get a gut hit or somebody tells you you're being irrational, just smile. You're literally a quantum computing faster than their conscious mind can possibly even comprehend. But let's talk about the long-term change. When you do spiritual work consistently, so meditation or mantra or prayer or gratitude, you're not just changing your mindset. You are literally rewiring your brain. And that's the magic of neuroplasticity. That's your brain's ability to grow and prune and reshape its neural networks based on new input. So every time you choose compassion over reaction, or presence over panic, or faith over fear, you're creating new neural grooves. And the more you repeat that choice, the stronger that groove becomes. So eventually, that spiritual insight basically becomes your default setting. And then what's more is you're not just shifting thoughts, but you're changing hormonal outputs and immune response, even your gene expression, for the love of God. So translation, your spiritual practice doesn't change your vibe. It changes your entire biology. It's not static. It's not checked out. It's not floating in a haze of incense and Enya, although respect to both. Your brain on spirit is super coherent. It is deeply intuitive. It is electrically regulated. And it's flexible and fluid and fierce as hell and oriented toward unity over separation. You become less attached to ego narratives, less reactive to emotional triggers, and less easily hijacked by fear. You're more present. You're more grateful. You're more attuned to subtle signals and synchronicities and soul level truths. Like, you stop seeing yourself as a brain piloting a meat suit and start understanding that consciousness is the operating system. Your brain is just the device. So if you've ever been worried that you're losing your mind on your spiritual path, let me just offer this reframe. You are not losing your mind. You are literally upgrading it. You're ditching outdated software. You're uninstalling ego malware. And you're stepping into a new operating system, one built on frequency and coherence and truth. Like, your brain isn't the enemy of your soul. It's the sacred instrument that lets your soul speak and feel and shape reality. And now that you know what's going on behind the scenes, you can work with it and not against it. All right, let's talk about energy, and not in that whole that person over there has bad vibes kind of way, although that is valid, but in the actual scientific, bioelectric, quantum humming from your cells kind of way. Because here's the truth. You're not just a body with a soul. You are frequency with form. You are a walking, pulsing, oscillating field of energy just wrapped in skin. And once you really understand that, everything, and I mean everything, changes. So let's decode what's really going on in your electric meat suit / God vehicle. Every single cell in your body generates voltage. That's right. Like, I stuttered, but I'm just trying to say, yes, voltage. You are literally electric. Your neurons fire electrical impulses. Your heartbeat generates a current. Your bones and your tissues and your fascia, they all store and conduct energy. Like, actual, look up at your lamp right now. You are basically that. Your body operates on biophotons, which are light particles emitted by cells, and bioelectricity, which is the energy created by an ion exchange, and electromagnetic fields. Like you're less matter and more organized light vibrating at different densities. And we've just been taught to think that we're solid, but we're not. Like, we're not. We're fields within fields. Like, you are a frequency inside a frequency, a symphony of oscillating particles pretending to be you. I mean, literally, I am literally just an oscillating particle pretending to be Ava so I can record a podcast and pay some taxes. Like, how wild is that? But let's talk about your heart for a second, because science is finally catching up to what mystics have said forever. Your heart is the center of knowing. So, according to research from the HeartMath Institute, your heart generates an electromagnetic field that is 60 times stronger than the brain's electromagnetic field and over 5,000 times stronger magnetically. This is a field that radiates 6 to 10 feet beyond your body in all directions. And yeah, this is measurable. And yeah, with real instruments. And yeah, in labs. But get this, the heart sends more information to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. So, when you follow your heart, you're not just being whimsical, you're listening to the primary intelligence system of your body. And this field also changes with your emotions. So when you're in coherence, so love and gratitude and presence, the field is smooth and harmonious. But when you're in fear and anxiety and anger, it becomes chaotic and jagged. So your heart is broadcasting an energetic signal into your environment all the time. People feel it, animals feel it, babies feel it. And that's why when somebody walks into your room and your tummy gets all knotted up, that's not paranoia. That is field interaction. Like you're literally tuning forks to each other. And your heart and your brain work together through electromagnetic synchronization. So when they're in coherence, your entire system becomes more efficient. Your hormonal output balances, your immune system strengthens, your decision making improves, intuition heightens. It's not just a metaphor. It is a harmonic frequency alignment between two bioelectric power centers. So when you add the gut into this trinity, boom, you've got a whole body intelligence system that rivals literally any tech on earth. So those gut feelings or intuitive hits or heart expansions, it's not fluff. It's biointelligence, baby. And the more you meditate and breathe and emotionally regulate, the more you synchronize these symptoms and systems. You're basically turning yourself into a cosmic Wi-Fi tower with unlimited bandwidth for receiving whatever. So let's now get into the fascia, because this tissue doesn't get enough credit. So fascia is that web of connective tissue that runs through your entire body. It's wrapping the muscles and the organs and the bones and even some of the nerves. It used to be seen as just the packing material of the body, but we now know that it is so much more. We know it's alive. We know it's sensitive. We know it conducts light and sound, and it stores emotion and memory. In fact, fascia has a piezoelectric property, basically means that it generates an electrical charge when stretched or compressed. So when you move and breathe and stretch or release your tension, your fascia is conducting signals and discharging electrical information. So this is why things like whatever somatic release, like shaking or yoga or ecstatic dance or like even just rolling on a therapy ball, it causes emotional breakthroughs. Like when you're on the massage table and she is really going to town on your, well, for me, shoulders, and you start to feel like you're going to cry, that's what that is. You're not just making it up, you're literally freeing stored energy. And fascia may be one of the ways that we access the biofield, which is that field of subtle energy that surrounds and penetrates the body. It's like The body's antenna to the quantum realm. Like you feel, like you really, really, really feel. So let's get into that word a little bit. Biofield. So the biofield is a term coined by scientists to describe that complex energy field around the body. Like think aura, but make it lab approved. So the biofield includes the electromagnetic radiation from the heart and the brain, the electrical activity from the nerves and the muscles, the thermal emissions, and possibly other subtle energies that we don't actually even fully understand yet. So when you're grounded and clear and aligned, your biofield is smooth and symmetrical and strong. But when you're fried and emotionally wounded or energetically clogged, that field gets fragmented. And it's not just a vibe thing. It affects your health and your mood and your cognition and your immunity and basically literally everything. That's why practices like acupuncture and Reiki and breath work and sound healing and even hugging a bloody tree all work. They influence and harmonize the biofield. So your aura isn't just a mood ring. It's a physiological map of your soul's current software update. This episode is supported in part by Sage app, aka the app that's basically a metaphysical multivitamin. It's like having a spiritual sanctuary in your pocket minus the incense smoke in your purse. It's also where I host my new moon manifestation clubs, which, if you know, we go deep. So if you're ready to stop doom scrolling and start soul scrolling, download Sage in the App Store or Google Play and then step into a more intentional, magical version of your day. That's SAGED, like Sage, but with an app. Back to the episode. All right, well, let's zoom out and talk quantum for a sec. You ready? So, in quantum physics, entanglement refers to the phenomenon where two particles become connected so that changing one will instantly affect the other, no matter how far apart they are. So spiritual people call this oneness. Science calls it spooky action at a distance. But the takeaway is we're all connected by fields. We affect each other instantaneously, and intention matters. Because intention carries frequency, and frequency shapes matter, and then matter creates reality. So when your vibration rises, when you become more coherent and loving and grateful, you're literally broadcasting that frequency into the quantum field. You change the informational structure of the space around you, and you become what Dr. Joe Dispenza calls a magnet for the miraculous. I call it a walking prayer in a cute outfit. But what's coherence really? It's when all your nervous systems, not your nervous, all your systems, your mind, your body, your heart, and your energy are all working in sync. That's when your thoughts match your feelings and your actions match your values and your nervous system isn't in chaos. So coherence feels like inner stillness and outer clarity. And maybe it's an alignment with timing and intuition. Or maybe it's high output without the burnout. Or, simply put, it's magic, synchronicity, and flow. And it sounds like, according to machines that can measure your heart rhythm, a smooth wave instead of a chaotic scribble. And you can train this. You can do it through heart-focused breathing and gratitude practices and intention setting and meditation. Like every time you do that, you're building coherence like a muscle. And the more coherent that you become, the stronger your signal. And the stronger your signal, the more clearly the universe responds. So let's just land the spaceship for now with a cosmic reminder. You're not a static being. You're not your trauma. You're not your past. You are a field of possibility. You are constantly shifting and evolving and vibrating into new expressions. Your vibe isn't just a mood. It is your broadcast frequency. It's your electromagnetic fingerprint. It's your energetic resume. And when you learn to tune that frequency through awareness or intention and gratitude, you stop reacting to life like a pinball and you start shaping it like a sculptor with a blowtorch. So for the next time somebody side eyes you for talking about vibes, just smile. Say, you know what? That's just my electromagnetic biofield. Thanks for asking. All right, babe. We have traveled through brain waves and electromagnetic fields and fascia and DNA. But now let's talk manifestation. The buzzword, the TikTok trend. It's the misunderstood sacred technology that somehow got watered down to vision boards and pretending to already have a Range Rover while you're basically ignoring your credit score. But we're going to claim it because manifestation isn't just thinking positive or visualizing a six-figure launch while soaking in a tub full of rose petals. It is deeply embodied and neurologically grounded in a quantum aligned act of reality co creation. But let's break it all down to how it actually works. What is happening in your brain and in your body and in the quantum field when you truly manifest with intention? So let's just start with the raw truth. Every thought, every emotion, every word is energy. And energy carries information. So your intention, your clear, focused desire charged with emotion, is an energetic command that you're sending into the quantum field. So think of the quantum field as like a sea of infinite probability. Every possible version of reality exists there in potential form. So you don't create something from nothing. You collapse one possibility into reality through your observation and your attention and your frequency. So your thoughts set the GPS, but your feelings are the fuel. And then your body is the speaker broadcasting it all out into the field. So let's just get into a little quantum physics 101 time. There's a famous double slit experiment which light particles, photons, baby cannonballs if you're a part of the SAGE community, they behave differently depending on whether or not they're being observed. So when unobserved, they acted like waves, so basically existing in multiple states at once. But when observed, they collapsed into particles, solid and singular. So translation, consciousness influences matter. So the act of observing changes the outcome. And this is the foundation of manifestation. Because when you place conscious attention on a desire, especially one charged with aligned emotion, you're collapsing waveforms into particles. You're selecting a timeline from the quantum field. But, and this is key, it's not just the thought that matters. It's the frequency behind the thought. So saying I'm abundant while your body is flooded with fear and doubt is an incoherent signal. Saying I trust while in nervous system safety, while in gratitude and alignment, that's a magnetic transmission. So let's talk about coherence again. Because when your thoughts and your emotions and your actions are all in harmony, when your nervous system feels safe and your heart is open and your mind is clear, you're in a state of energetic coherence. So you become the magnet. And I don't mean this metaphorically. I mean your electromagnetic field literally becomes more powerful and more stable and more resonant. And this is when those synchronicities start to pop off, or when the text arrives, or the opportunity lands, and the money flows, and that idea hits like a lightning bolt up at 2 a.m. Not because you forced it, but because your field was aligned to receive it. So manifestation doesn't happen from hustle. It happens from harmonizing with the reality that you're calling in. So let's bring the brain back into this. When you visualize a future experience with clarity and emotion, your brain doesn't know the difference between the imagined and the real. So it begins firing the same neural circuits as if it were all happening right now. So doing this repeatedly, your brain begins rewiring itself to expect that reality. And this is how mental rehearsal works in athletes. They visualize winning. Their muscles, their breath, and their heart rate then sync to that image. And it's not magic, it's neuroplasticity. You do the same with abundance, and with love, and with peace, and with purpose. But the trick is this: the visualization must be paired with emotion of already having it. Because emotion is the chemical signal. And that's what tells your body, yes, this is safe, this is familiar, let's create this. So you're not trying to get something, but you're becoming someone who already has it. And then here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. You can't manifest what your nervous system isn't regulated enough to hold. So you might consciously want abundance, but if your body is addicted to stress and chaos, then you'll subconsciously block or sabotage it. And it's not a flaw, it's protection. It's your body trying to keep you alive based on what it knows. And if it's never known stability and intimacy and safety or peace, then it's not going to recognize those things as normal. And that's why trauma healing is manifestation work. Because you're not just rewriting limiting beliefs, but you're repatterning your entire inner world to receive and basically sustain what it is that you desire. So no amount of journaling can override a body stuck in survival. But when you regulate, when you create safety, and when you learn to trust the calm, you become that magnet for miracles. So you've visualized, you've felt, you've healed. Now what? You live like it's already done. And not by like maxing out your credit card or going on a crystal hunt or fake flexing on Instagram. I mean, you begin to embody the frequency of your vision. So if you want love, be in love with how you speak and care and receive and relate. And if you want wealth, treat your current resources with reverence and abundance. And if you want purpose, follow your joy, even if it's inconvenient and weird. And this is what it means to act as if. And not pretending or performing, but embodying. So becoming the version of you who already lives in that timeline. And because the universe mirrors your internal state, reality has to rearrange. But here's the most important reminder of all. Manifestation is not about control. It's about collaboration. You're not making things happen. You're co-creating with Source, with your higher self, with the intelligence that grows trees and spins galaxies and aligns divine timing in ways that your ego can never orchestrate. And sometimes the thing that you want doesn't come because something better is queued up. Sometimes it comes in a form you didn't expect because your soul needed it that way. But trust doesn't mean giving up. It means letting go of the how and staying aligned for the why. Let's put it all together. Manifestation isn't wishful thinking. It's not a cosmic vending machine. It's the intersection of clear intention, your thoughts, emotional resonance, your feeling, embodied frequency, your action, nervous system safety, capacity, and surrender to divine timing, which is trust. Because you're not manifesting things, you're manifesting versions of you. And each version unlocks a different reality. You don't get what you want, you get what you are. You don't just think the life, you've got to be the frequency. You've got to live it and radiate it and receive it. You're not just a human being having a spiritual experience. Like, you are a spiritual frequency collapsing waveforms into form. And your life is the art. It's that spell and that sacred unfolding. If you loved this episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button and leave us a glowing review. It helps more beautiful souls like you find this space. Because your words matter, your energy ripples, and every review is like a little spell of support for the Synaptic Soul mission. So until next time, stay curious, stay cosmic, and keep waking the F up.